Yo, what is up, everybody? It is your host, Neil Villapiano, and welcome back to another edition of Mofobo Network Presents on YouTube, the best place to get the most up-to-date news going on in the wide world of sports. As always, thank you guys so very much for taking some time to check this video out. And if you like this video, make sure to leave a like and also a comment to let me know what you guys think of this video. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos that we post here on YouTube every single Wednesday. We always have great topics and great content to give you guys here on this channel, and today is certainly no exception. Today, I'm going to shift to college football. I haven't talked about it that much, but this week I wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to talk about one specific team, as you can clearly see from my background today. We are going to be talking about why, in my opinion, I feel that the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are for real this time, and why I think that they have a legitimate shot of getting into the college football playoff, obviously, and maybe even more surprisingly, finding a way to win a national championship. So we have a bunch to get to. So without further ado, as I always say, let's kick some Mofobo. So we'll start by kind of recapping Notre Dame's regular season, because this past Saturday, they had just finished up their regular season and now they're getting ready to play in the ACC championship game. And speaking of the ACC, prior to this year, Notre Dame had always been an independent school. So that pretty much meant that they were not a part of a conference. They just basically went out and scheduled whoever they wanted to schedule. So that's pretty much how they had been doing it for many years. But this year, considering the factors with COVID-19 and knowing that it was probably going to be difficult, especially with the traveling to many different places, not just one specific area, Notre Dame decided to join the ACC for football. Notre Dame, in almost every other sport in their school, is part of the ACC, especially basketball. So it was a logical choice for the Fighting Irish to just join the ACC for football this year. So that was kind of a big thing going into the season. I think a lot of people were wondering, could Notre Dame compete with the ACC? Could they actually do well when they're actually in a conference playing a specific amount of teams? And I would say their first year in the ACC, they've passed with flying colors. Now, just to also say this as well, most likely Notre Dame will not be rejoining the ACC for football after this year. Once things kind of get back to somewhat of a normal world, so to speak, especially in college football, Notre Dame will just go back to being an independent school. I would be surprised if they made the decision to remain in the ACC for football permanently. But after their first 10 games in the ACC during their 10-game regular season, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are 10-0 and are sitting at number 2 in the country in the college football playoff ranking. Their biggest win of this season was beating the Clemson Tigers back on November 7th, 47-40 in double overtime, albeit Trevor Lawrence was not in that game due to the fact that he had contracted the COVID-19 virus. They haven't won fluky either by beating 2 top 25 teams, and really the only game that maybe they were, I guess you would say, in doubt of possibly winning was probably either the Clemson game or their 12-7 victory over Louisville earlier this year. But other than that, they pretty much dominated. And look, I will say that the ACC is not the most competitive conference. It's not, especially it's probably one of the weaker Power 5 conferences in college football. I mean, there just isn't that many teams that are competitive. But it is great that you have 2 schools like Clemson and Notre Dame, at least, that are at the top. And funny enough, those are going to be the 2 teams facing off against one another in the ACC championship game. Now, to me personally, this team is different than the 2012 Fighting Irish team that went and got to the national championship game and got the doors blown off them by Alabama 42-14. And here are some of the reasons why, and I'll show some pictures as well as I'm talking about it. The first one is, let's talk about their defense. Their defense is 13th best total defense in the nation, better than any of the other 3 teams in the college football playoff at the moment. So that kind of tells you that they've really upgraded their defense, and you got to give Brian Kelly a lot of credit for recruiting really talented defensive players. Notre Dame's defense was solid that year in 2012, but it wasn't at the level that it is here in 2020. This is a much better Notre Dame defense. The next thing, they have a legitimate quarterback. Now, one of the things that was a big question mark going into the season was Ian Book going to stay for his senior year? And I think he made the right choice to come back, because this year he's completed 63.3% of his passes for 2,382 yards, 15 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions. So his touchdown to interception ratio is by far the best of his career. Now, one of the reasons for that is because they have a very solid running game, and we'll get to that in just a second. So really, Ian Book is not asked to put up gaudy passing numbers every single game. I still believe, and I mentioned this on the Mofobo Network Podcast, which you can check on Anchor and Spotify. I mentioned a couple weeks ago that I felt Ian Book should, get some recognition in the Heisman Trophy race. Most likely he won't be one of the finalists. He may not even be in the top 5. But I personally believe that because he's led Notre Dame to a perfect 10-0 season in the ACC and has done very, very well for himself, I think he deserves to get some recognition. We talk about it. Heisman Trophy is for the best player in college football. And I do believe that Ian Book has deserved to be in that category as one of the best players this year in college football. He also set a record for the most wins as a starting quarterback in Notre Dame history. And you have to think about some of the big names that have played quarterback for the Fighting Irish. You think about it, Joe Montana, Joe Theismann, John Hewitt, Paul Hornung. The last 2 actually won a Heisman Trophy while playing at Notre Dame. And Ian Book goes into the ACC championship game actually with a 30-3 record as a starting quarterback. That's really impressive. One of those 3 losses, interestingly enough, was in the college football playoff semifinal a few years ago when Notre Dame got destroyed in the Cotton Bowl against Clemson. So this is an opportunity for Ian Book going into the ACC championship game to try to beat Trevor Lawrence and Clemson. He already beat Clemson, but now he gets that opportunity against Trevor Lawrence. And I mentioned the running game, but I want to talk about the running game and the offensive line together, because let's face it, your offense is not going to do anything if you don't have a really solid offensive line. This year, sophomore Karen Williams has had a tremendous year behind one of the best offensive lines in college football. He's carried the ball 180 times for 1,011 yards and 12 touchdowns. So he's clearly gotten onto the scene as one of the more up-and-coming running backs in college football. And that offensive line continues to do really well. Ian Book is one of the least sacked quarterbacks in college football this year. And a big reason, obviously, is because, just like what you see in the NFL, where a team spends a lot of money and also draft picks on, getting and developing an offensive line, Brian Kelly has done a really good job of recruiting really talented offensive linemen to come to Notre Dame. They've played together for a long time, and as a result, that chemistry is there, and they're having a lot of success. So you look at it from that offensive perspective, their quarterback, the running back, and the tremendous offensive line, they've had the success that they've had. They're not one of the most dangerous offenses in college football, but they are one of the most balanced. Again, like I mentioned, Ian Book hasn't even thrown for 2,500 yards because Karen Williams has rushed for over 1,000 yards. So they're a very, very balanced team on offense, and that could be a very big problem, because then you look at Notre Dame and they can say to themselves, we feel confident throwing the football and running the football. We're not a one-dimension team, so we have a lot of success on either side, and that's really tremendous. So looking at Notre Dame, they'll be taking on the Clemson Tigers and Trevor Lawrence, like I mentioned, in the ACC championship game on December 19th at 4 o'clock. I believe that game will be on ABC or ESPN, one of the two. To me, this is actually the ultimate test for Notre Dame, because even though, yes, Notre Dame did beat Clemson earlier in the year, they didn't have Trevor Lawrence. Clemson didn't have Trevor Lawrence. So now that Clemson is going to be fully healthy and fully ready to go, and the fact that both teams are going to have some time between, the day you're checking this video out and the game itself, both teams are going to be really ready to go to take on one another. And the way I look at it, whoever loses this game, they could get knocked out of the college football playoff. I know that there's still a good chance that even if Clemson loses, they could stay in. But I think with 2 losses, especially to the same team, I don't know. I think that if there's another one-win team that's number 5 or number 6, they may jump Clemson. Who knows? This could be a game that really could decide which team in the ACC is going to represent that conference in the college football playoff. I'm not going to give any predictions as to what I think is going to happen. I just wanted to come on here and say that I really do believe that this is a much better Notre Dame team than you saw back in 2012. I think this is the best Notre Dame team I've seen in the past decade. I remember about 2 years ago, people were wondering if Brian Kelly was going to be fired at Notre Dame, but he has resurrected himself, resurrected the program, and has made Notre Dame once again a very, very talented and very dangerous program. And again, this ACC championship game coming up, their biggest test of the season, and we'll see if they're able to pass that ultimate test. Now, before I go, I just wanted to make a quick special announcement that's going on, career-wise for me. As you guys already know from the outro and all the announcements I've made over the past handful of months, I did put out my first book titled JETS Pain, 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 which is about the pain and suffering of being a Jets fan. Talks about all the painful memories and painful games and everything that revolves around pain with this organization. And, quite frankly, they're living up to it, with everything that's going on this year. But this book is perfect for the Jets fan in your life. If you're a Jets fan, a football fan, if you know someone who's one of those, or if you just want to support me, please go check that book out. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. It's for the price of $19.69, available for hardcover and ebook. If you're a Jets fan, you probably guessed why I chose that price. But that's not the announcement that I want to make. I want to make a very special announcement to say that I am super excited to announce that I have published my second book. Yes, that's right. I have published my second book, and here it is, Meet the Mets Mess, the REGRETS of New York Town. That is correct. This book is about the regrets of being a New York Mets fan. So a little bit similar to the Jets book, but this one, instead of pain, it just talks about regrets, all of the moves that the Mets have made, from trading away Tom Seaver, letting guys like Nolan Ryan go, his relationship with Jose Reyes, Carlos Beltran, even David Wright, all of those games that, could have gone the other way in favor of the Mets and everything like that. So again, it's another book that I've written. I'm super excited to share it. It's available right now, like the Jets book, on Amazon and eventually on Barnes & Noble for hardcover and ebook for the price of $19.69 as well. Yes. And if you're a Mets fan, you probably guessed why I chose that price. So again, please go check out this book as well. I would greatly appreciate it. Meet the Mets Mess, the REGRETS of New York Town. Hey guys, it's your host, Neil Villapiano. Thank you guys so much for checking out this week's video here on Mofobo Network Presents. I greatly, greatly appreciate that you guys took some time to check this out. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to leave a like, also subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos that we post every single Wednesday, and also just leave a comment and let me know what you guys think of the video and everything else like that. So please do that. I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. If you want to check out more of this YouTube channel, like I said, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Also, make sure to subscribe to the Mofobo Network Facebook page, where there you can stay up to date with the new videos that we post. We also have a podcast for Mofobo Network. It's called Mofobo Network Podcast, where it's available on Anchor and Spotify. Just like here on Mofobo Network Presents, we post new episodes of the podcast every Tuesday and Thursday, talking about the most up-to-date topics and content in the wide world of sports. So please go like and subscribe to that as well. You can stay up to date with the podcast, just like Mofobo Network Presents as well, on the Mofobo Network Facebook page. You can follow me on my personal Twitter at THENVPSHOW, and also on my personal Instagram at NVPQB11. If you want to continue to check out great content that I put out, you can check me out as the host of the Devils State of Mind podcast, which is the New Jersey Devils hockey team-based podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. On this podcast, in which we post new episodes every single Monday, I talk about all the news and notes and all exciting things happening with the New Jersey Devils, as well as hockey news in general. We have great guests that come on with some just great stories and so much fun. So please go check that out as well. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. So SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, wherever. Just search Hockey Podcast Network or Devil State of Mind and you'll find it. Please also go check out hockeypodcastnetwork.org, where there you can see all the team-based podcasts and just other great hockey podcasts that we have on this network. So if you're a hockey fan, or if you're not, or if you just want to learn more about the sport, please go check it out, hockeypodcastnetwork.org. We have a Twitter for the Devil's State of Mind podcast at Devil's State. We have an Instagram at Devil's State of Mind. And just like Mofobo, we have a Facebook page where there you can stay up to date with the new episodes of the podcast posted every single Monday. And also on all of those, there is a link to the Devil's State of Mind website, where also if you just bookmark it, you can see all the new episodes that we post. So please go check that out as well and support me on there. And last but certainly not least, go check out my book right now on Amazon.com as well as Barnes & Noble. It's titled JETS, Pain, Pain, Pain. It's about the pain and suffering of being a Jets fan for the Jets fan. And so, I mean, obviously you look at the fact that the Jets off to an 0-3 start, not really that great. But this book will certainly help you understand more about, why the team is the way that they are, why they've been this way for so long. We go through a lot of great painful stories, painful moments, painful player decisions, and everything else. So please go check that book out. If you're a Jets fan or a football fan, if you know someone who's one of those, or if you just want to support me, go check it out. It's available for hardcover and ebook for the price of $19.69. And if you're a Jets fan or a football fan, you probably guessed why I chose that price. So please go check it out on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Again, JETS, Pain, Pain, Pain. So thank you guys very much once again for checking out this edition of Mofobo Network Presents, and we will see you in the next video. And as I always say at the end of every single video, no matter what's going on in the world, no matter what hardships you might be dealing with, just remember when you wake up in the morning to think positively, have a smile on your face, and kick some Mofobo. So thank you guys very much, and God bless.